Hello everyone, so today we're going to continue with our lesson. We are now on our fourth week and we're still under the main topic, which is triangle congruence, but this time around we're going to talk about the different postulates and theorems. Okay, so what do we know so far? We've already learned about triangle congruence. Triangle congruence simply means that two triangles are congruent if and only if their corresponding parts are congruent. Kaya naman, ano yung una nating inaral? We try to identify ano ba yung mga corresponding parts. So, ang maganda naman, kapag binibigyan tayo ng figures, like this given figure, we have special markings. No? These marks will help us identify the corresponding parts. O kung sino ba yung magkatapatan. Just like in this example, this single line mark indicates that line segment BC is congruent to line segment EF. Okay? Pag ito naman, yung two lines, yan, sila naman yung magkatapatan. Diba? Line segment AB is congruent to line segment DE. Ganon din naman ang markings kapag angles, okay? But this time, ang ginagamit nila is curves. So, katulad dito, 3 curves. So, ang katapatan niya, yung may 3 curves din. So, ibig sabihin, ang magka-congruent or corresponding angles is angle B and angle E. Ganun lamang siya. So, it is very crucial na marunong tayo mag-identify ng corresponding parts, marunong tayo mag-observe based on our figures. Okay? Hindi siya laging ganito na magkamuka. There are times na naka-flip yung isa, nakabaliktad, or magkaiba sila ng orientation. So, ang pagbabasihan lamang natin ay yung mga markings. Okay. Okay, so sa subheader natin nakalagay, postulates and theorems. So, yun yung i-discuss natin today. Naalala niyo pa ba kung ano ibig sabihin ng postulates? No? Postulates are statements that doesn't necessarily need any proof, okay, for us to determine if they are valid or invalid, true or false. Okay, so by looking at them, by observation, okay, malalaman natin kung totoo ba siya o hindi. Okay, so here, our first postulate is the SSS Congruence Postulate. According sa postulate na ito, if the three sides of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding three sides of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So, di ba dun sa previous slide, sabi, yung corresponding sides daw dapat congruent, yung corresponding angles dapat congruent din. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan natin ng 6 pairs, di ba? 6 pairs, no? Kasi 3 pairs ng sides, congruent sides, saka 3 pairs of congruent angles, okay? In order to prove na two triangles are congruent. Pero sabi sa ating SSS Congruence Postulate, yung tatlong sides lang daw is enough for us to conclude na congruent nga yung dalawang triangles. So, let's take a look at this example. Okay, ayan na naman, no? So, may markings yung ating triangle. So, itong may single line mark corresponds to this one. So, pwede nating ilista yung mga corresponding sides. So, line segment BC is congruent to line segment YZ. Line segment AB is congruent to line segment XY. And of course, line segment AC is congruent to line segment XZ. Okay? So, base dito sa postulate na ito, we could say, we could conclude that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ. Yan. So, take a look at this one, diba? So, not all the time ay kompleto yung mga markings na makikita natin dun sa ating figure. Diba? SSS congruence to. So, we are looking for 3 congruent sides, no? 3 pairs of congruent sides. Pero dito sa illustration, dalawa lamang yung nakikita natin. Okay? Pero, based on observation, malalaman natin na even without the markings, this side is automatically congruent with itself. Kasi in this particular given, these two triangles share a common side. Okay? Pareho silang merong line segment AK as one of its sides. Kaya naman, automatic, 'di ba? Line segment AK is congruent to itself. Ayan. So, we could list down all the corresponding congruent parts. So, we have line segment JK is congruent to line segment KN. And line segment AJ is congruent to line segment AN. At yun nga, ang ating third part ay yung line segment AK is congruent to line segment AK to itself. So still, by using the SSS Congruence Postulate, we can conclude that triangle JAK is congruent to triangle NAK. Let's move on to the next postulate. So we have SAS Congruence Postulate. So ano naman kaya tong SAS? Ang sabi, if the two sides and an included angle of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two sides and the included angle of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. Ayan. So, here's an example. In this figure, ayan, nakita na natin agad yung corresponding congruent sides. Okay? Pero, ayan, ito yung ating included angle. Ano ba sabi? Ano mga ba ang included angle? Diba? Ito yung angle na nabuo dito sa ating two sides, no? O yung pumagitna, yung angle na nasa gitna nitong two sides natin. Ayan. So, ito siya. Okay? Dito sa illustration natin, alam natin agad na congruent talaga tong dalawang angles na to by the vertical angles theorem. Kung matatandaan nyo, pahapyaw na na-explain ito on the previous video. When we say kasi vertical angles theorem, pag meron daw tayong intersecting lines, ayan, we have itong intersecting lines na to. Okay? Yung opposite angles na mabubuo, they are automatically congruent. So, this angle is congruent to this angle. Okay? Ayan. So, pwede na ngayon nating ilista lahat ng mga congruent na corresponding parts. Okay? So, we have line segment AC is congruent to line segment EC. And then, ito nga yung ating included angle. Angle ACB is congruent to angle DCE. And, okay, actually, it's more appropriate to say that this is angle ECD. Okay, kung susundin lang natin yung pattern ng ACB. Okay, and then the last part is line segment BC is congruent to line segment CD. Ayan. Okay, so, we have side, angle, side. Okay, so doon ang galing yung SAS. Okay, so, again, hindi na natin kailangan yung 6 pairs of congruent parts. Even with SAS, pwede na nating makonclude na triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EDC. Ayan. Okay, the next postulate, ASA Congruence Postulate. ASA naman. Okay, sabi dito, if the two angles and the included side of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two angles and the included side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So, ayan. Clear naman po, no? So, two angles ang hinahanap naman natin at saka yung nakasandwich na side o yung included side na tinatawag. Ayan. So, in this case, ayan, based on the markings, we could list down the congruent corresponding parts. So, we have angle B is congruent to angle E. And then line segment BC is congruent to line segment EF. And then angle C is congruent to angle F. Okay? So, yan. Ano mapapansin nyo? Angle, side, angle. Okay? Kaya ASA. So, based on this postulate, we could conclude that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Okay. Okay, so dito sa next slide natin, na iba yung title, ano? So, naging triangle congruence theorem. Dahil yung last natin, which is AAS, is a theorem. Okay, mamaya explain natin kung bakit. Okay, AAS, so this is somehow similar to ASA, pero hindi, magkaiba yung kanilang pagkakasunod-sunod. So sa AAS, ang sabi naman, if two angles and a non-included side of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two angles and a non-included side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So kanina 'di ba, included side ang tinutukoy. Pero this time non-included side. So tingnan muna natin. Ilista muna natin yung mga corresponding parts, congruent parts. So sabi dito, angle BAD is congruent to angle BCD. Okay? And then angle BDA is congruent naman to angle BDC. Okay? Kung kanina, yung ASA, ang included side ay ito dapat. Diba? Sa other triangle, ito naman. Kasi, sila yung nag-overlap o sila yung common side kapag pinagsama yung dalawang angles na tinukoy. Itong dalawang angles na to. Okay? Pero hindi. Dito sa AAS, itong non-included side ang tinutukoy. Okay? It makes sense that line segment PD is congruent to line segment BD, again, because this is basically the same side, diba? These two triangles, again, share a common side, which is line segment PD. Kaya, it makes sense that line segment BD is congruent with itself. Ayan. So, angle, and a side, a non-included side, kaya AAS congruence ang ginamit natin, and we could conclude that triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CBD. Pero ang tanong again na naiwan kanina, bakit siya theorem? Kasi, in order to prove na tama nga tong AAS, ginamit nila yung angle sum postulate at yung ating ASA postulate kanina. O, diba yung theorem, diba? A theorem is based on existing facts and previous postulates and existing theorems, no? Kapag pinagsama-sama yung mga yon, pwede natin makaprove ang isang theorem. Okay? Yan. Angle sum postulate kasi kung matatandaan nyo, yung sum ng lahat ng angles within a triangle, lahat ng interior angles nila, pag inad natin lahat, ang total ay 180 degrees. Okay? So, kung alam natin yung two angles, we could easily determine kung ano yung measurement nung ika-third angle, di ba? So, add lang natin yung dalawang given angles, tapos yung sum nun, minus natin sa 180 degrees. Makukuha na natin yung sukat ng ikatlong angle. So, dahil pareho to, di ba? Angle BAD is the same as the measurement of angle BCD. Ganun din naman, parehong 90 degrees yung angle BDA and angle BDC. So, tama lang na pareho din ang sukat ni angle ABD at saka ni angle CBD. Okay? So, kung yung tatlong angles ay congruent and we have one side, pwede tayong bumalik dun sa ASA postulate. Okay? So, dun ang galing tong AAS natin. At dahil nga, napatunayan siya using two postulates, okay, it became a theorem. Yan. So, yun yung difference siya dun sa iba. Okay? So, guys, ayun na yung mag-next. Yan. So, thank you for joining us in this video lesson. Yan. Naway nakatulong yung discussion natin ngayon sa pagsagot nyo sa inyong mga learning tasks, particularly learning task 4. Yan. So, stay tuned. So, marami pa tayong matututunan about triangles. Um, just keep safe, everyone. And subscribe sa ating The Cartesians CNHS Grade 8 Math Teachers channel. Bye-bye!